Mr. Gray will see you now.
Christian Grey.
I'm Anastasia Steele.
I had no idea it was going to be a trilogy. Absolutely none. It was written as Twilight fan fiction, and it was written a chapter at a time. And it went up on the internet twice a week as I sat and wrote, and I had no idea how long it would take, what was going on, where it would go. I just took it every chapter at a time, and it was great. And if you have enough people going, what happens next? You write the next chapter, and that's what I did. So 50 Shades of Grey and 50 Shades Darker were effectively one book. So I had to find a place to divide them.
Anna.
Christian.
And then what became 50 Shades Freed was the third book. So I decided to split it up on a terrible cliffhanger, which is one way to get people to read what happens next.
I can't believe you just talked to him like that.
He wants what's mine.
What's yours? That's a little presumptuous.
Adapting a book is not an easy process. I've done quite a few movies that are adaptations of books, including the first 50 Shades. And Nell, who's actually Erica's husband, did the adaptation, which I thought was a good thing for us as producers because he lived with these books and the process of these books being written. So it made him an ideal candidate, as he was already a screenwriter, to do the adaptation. But to condense those 400 pages down into a movie is no easy task.
He did a really fantastic job of boiling everything down so that we got all the main set pieces and fan moments that would be expected.
Why are you here?
For you.
Erica was very keen that movies 2 and 3 should stick as closely as possible to the books and to the sense of the books and to the sense of the story. And of course, I was very familiar with the parts that meant a lot to Erica and to her fans. And I was very keen to see those properly included. I wouldn't let her watch over my shoulder. If she'd come in when I was working on the first draft of the script, I'd switch the screen off and say, yes? And she would say, I said, no, when it's finished, when it's ready, I'll show it to you. But I was very nervous, actually. In the same way when you send your first draft of a script to anybody. So when I gave it to her to read for the first time, I was really quite nervous. And then I heard her in the next room and I heard her laugh and I thought, okay, I'm off the hook, because she was enjoying it. And we got over that first hurdle, really, of her accepting my work. And then we had to work together revising it. I mean, I'd hit a few bum notes here and there, and she helped me with it. And sometimes we'd have a bit of a ding-dong about particular scenes. I'd say, I really wanted to do this, and she would say, that's not true to the story.
He kind of went off and did his thing, and then he'd bring me a draft and say, what do you think? And I'd go, oh, this, and we're still speaking to each other, so I think that's probably a good thing.
I just like us to be constantly moving up, pivoting with the lead singer.
James Foley I knew from House of Cards. He directed the most episodes of the first season of House of Cards and was like our show director / showrunner.
He's incredibly experienced, and he has a very impressive roster of great films under him. And we met and we just hit it off.
And when we found out that he had interest to do 50 Shades Darker, he came in and met with Mike and I initially, and his take and his thoughts on the film were fantastic.
And action! I hadn't read the books, but I was certainly familiar with them, like the rest of the world. And I followed the first movie in terms of the phenomenon of how successful it was. But it was only when the studio was asking if I was interested that I really focused on it and read all 3 books, actually, and found something really meaty and psychological that I liked about them, so I jumped on board.
Nice, Scott, that was a great one. Great. Next.
You know, I've always been interested in doing movies, dramas that have a psychological complexity to them. And what I got from the 3 books was that it was kind of a master study in the psychology, particularly of Christian, but also of Anna. And there was something interesting in the journey that they took together and how each of their psychologies interacted with each other and wound up changing each of them over the course of the 3 books quite dramatically. So it was that evolution which really was the most important thing to me.
No rules, no punishments, and no more secrets.
I can do that.
It would be an understatement to say that Erica knows this material inside and out. She comes with the knowledge of having written it, and what was wonderful is she and James Foley worked together on the material, on the script, understanding where the characters were going.
I made it a point to meet with her before I signed on, because to me the most important thing was going to be our personalities and her expectations. So I went over to London to see her, just to hang out. We didn't have big story meetings or anything, but it was just to hang out. And we just got along, just as people. She's got a great sense of humor. And she became this friend to me before we even got on the set. It definitely was different than any film I had made before, except for maybe Glengarry Glen Ross, because Glengarry Glen Ross had a life as a play before it was a movie and won a Pulitzer and stuff. So there was pressure on that to match the original. And it's a similar thing here, that the fan base is so involved and so specific about what they love about the books and different seminal moments that happen throughout the 3 books.
Don't come.
So I was aware, and Erica was there to remind me sometimes about what was really important.
There was one point he said to me, I will always go back to the books, and I just thought, okay. So we had some really interesting discussions.
And once in a while, she would come by the monitor where I was at and just whisper something in my ear, very politely, like, in case you were wondering what happens in the book is this. And I'd say, okay, and if it made sense to me for the scene, I would accommodate the book. And if I thought, no, this won't work in the movie, I would tell her, and she'd say, okay. And I really loved that about her. She was very respectful of my position and me of hers.
He's gathered an amazing team around him, and it's a pleasure to see him let all of those people get on and do their thing. And he's been so excited to do these films, and I think his excitement comes across, with each take, each thing. He just says, great, or nice, or let's do it again.
Yeah, got it. That was better. Once again.
And because he's so excited, it keeps the rest of the crew excited and to keep going and to get through such a long schedule.
You want to swap dollars, right?
Beamer.
One of the great pleasures is getting to see this ensemble cast come back together and grow as characters, but also even as people, from seeing them from 2 years ago, and the interaction between both them as a character and them as people on set has been phenomenal.
Anastasia Steele?
The first thing about Dakota is that she's so intelligent. You can't get things past her. You can't ask her to do something with a bullshit reason.
I've never been on a project this long, and I've never been so densely a part of a project. So it's been quite an experience, and it's been this great honor to be able to tell this young woman's story.
Mark.
She was relentless in her pursuit of trying to make this character as real and believable as could possibly be.
Here, your new favorite flavor.
Each time she made a decision to do something, you felt, okay, yeah, that's what Anna would do. And if I tried to get her to do something that Anna wouldn't do, she let me know, and we didn't do it.
When I come over here and I'm here, am I blocking her light?
No, you're all good.
Okay.
She knows exactly what the camera's doing and what it's seeing and how it's going to cut together. I think if she wanted to, she could be a really good director. She just has a sense of the whole, which is unusual for an actor.
You can't start interfering in my career.
It's not about that. I've wanted to move into publishing. They're the best fit.
And Jamie, no matter what you'd throw at him, he'd say, okay, cool, I'll try it, and he would try it. So he was open to anything. He was prepared and had his own sense of what he was going to do, but if I threw a wrench into his plans, he just would adapt instantly and know what he was doing.
He was just very clear that he wanted to get the core aspects of the characters and not just thinking it's a film about sex. He wanted to try to bring out Christian the man and why he is the way he is.
You know, I had no idea what this was going to become.
I didn't know you'd be different.
Is that why you brought me to Mrs. Robinson's, where you brought all the other women because I'm so different?
That was wrong, I admit.
You hear sometimes actors saying the fun part is playing the bad guy, something quite different than themselves. And he's not a bad guy in the movie, but Jamie is about as far from Christian as you can get. But yet he found that part inside of himself, and I think reveled in expressing it.
Where the fuck have you been? I told you to come straight here.
He talked to me a lot about making him more of a physical threat and toughening him up a bit. And he had me going to gym a lot more than the first one, and I'm substantially heavier than I was in the first one. But it made sense to me that this is someone who got in a lot of fights when he was a kid, obviously went through awful stuff when he was a child, and I think he wanted that to come across on screen more than it would have in the first one.
The movie has a certain fantasy quality to it. But what's interesting about it is that you've got these very serious, psychologically realistic actors who are playing in this fantasy. So it gives it a truth and a groundedness that makes it very believable. It makes you forget it's a fantasy. And Marcia Gay just has this professional gravitas of being a class act.
To bring this woman to life and to be a part of this trilogy, it's an opportunity unlike anything I've ever had. It's a huge opportunity. And to try to portray this archetype of a mother.
Happy birthday. Thank you.
She's a woman of means, a woman of maturity. She's wise, kind of funny. She's kind of cheeky at little times.
These things are beautiful, and they are mysterious. They're a pain in the ass.
But she's a real archetype, nurturing. I love that. And I do feel this sense of, we're back, we get to hang out a little bit. It really does feel family-like.
I've built a closer relationship with a lot of the other cast. We've had this sort of group experience, this sort of family experience, and that's pretty special.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark. Action.
Congratulations, Mrs. Fiction Editor.
Right? She's a big deal now.
Walking down the street, people will be like, hey, I've met you before. Where do I know you from? You know, I've met you. I've like hung out with you. And I know like right off the bat that they probably saw the movie and feel like they're my friend because of the film, which I love. It's like the greatest compliment.
He's so subtle, it kills me.
The whole group of siblings and friends are all very essential to making the movie real. And those actors were just great because they knew they were in supporting parts, but were really happy to be there and really took their work seriously. And sometimes if somebody has quite a small part in a movie, they can easily get kind of run over by the machine. They come in for just one day at a time or something, and this machine is going all the time with all the other actors, and so they can feel like, wait a minute, you know, where am I, what's going on? And I'm quite conscious of that when actors in smaller parts, to give them as much attention and as much focus as anybody gets in the movie.
What do I get Christian for his birthday? The boy already has everything except a sense of humor.
I'm very much like Mia. Mia's outspoken, like me. Mia kind of puts her relatives in the hot seat, and Christian kind of tells Mia all the time, okay, stop it now, Mia, stop it now, Mia.
He got expelled from 4 different schools for brawling.
That's enough.
Totally out of control.
Mia, enough.
Mia? I'll be right back.
And the great thing about these guys, they had already a grounding in who their character was. And so it was just fun for me to expand on that.
And it's been really cool because my character, Jose Rodriguez, his journey now, you know, he went from having a crush on Anastasia, and now he's kind of played the friend role, and I think he's accepted that more.
Hannah, you made it.
Jose, there's so much of my face in here.
Somebody likes them. They just bought all 6.
It was a lot of fun because they were so gung-ho.
You should be here. Why aren't you here?
Yeah, tell that douchebag brother of mine to take a day off for once, would you?
It's an interesting sort of benchmark in my career to be involved with something with such a huge audience, and all over the world people were going crazy over these books. And then to step in and fill the shoes of a character that people already know is very different than playing some original material or a movie that people are just experiencing for the first time. There's a pressure to get it right. I wanted the fans to like what I was doing the way that they did in the book, and you don't want to let anybody down. So that's been an interesting way to approach it, and the fans have been wonderful.
All right, bye, Anna.
Bye.
Great, cut. That was great. Great.
This cast, they were all incredibly serious about it, committed to it, didn't demand special attention, but really appreciated collaborating with me and pushing their character forward. Darker. It's a drama with thriller aspects. The whole of Darker is about, will their relationship survive? And will it survive the emotional, psychological complexities that exist in each character and how they can work that out and change?
We've got these threats in the wings that come in to destabilize the couple as they try and get it together.
You don't care about Christian. He'll see that. I'll make sure of it.
Elena has little respect for Anna and Christian's relationship. She feels that she's seen it all before and that Anna's just another number.
What did Elena say to you?
Then there's the whole personalized threat that comes from Jack Hyde and Leela. They're a literal threat to their relationship because they're a threat to their lives.
Background.
I think back to like being in the playground at school, you know, I guess when I was about 10 or 11. Kim Basinger was the name you used for like a hot woman. Everyone's like, oh yeah, Kim Basinger, you know. And beyond just how physically beautiful she still is, she's done incredible work in the past. You know, I'm a big fan of her work.
Kim was, she was so gracious and so classy. She was a pleasure to work with and to have her on set. And she plays Christian's ex-lover, I think is the kindest way you could describe her. And she plays her very well. She really embraced Elena and thrilled Jamie Dornan as well. I remember her saying, oh my God, Kim just kissed me. Yeah, so that was kind of funny.
So you stay the fuck away from us.
It was a surreal moment to work with her, let alone be extremely rude to her and throw a drink in her face, which was not very polite.
But fun.
It wasn't fun. I didn't like it. I really didn't. Even like if there's a scene where I have to slap somebody, I'm apologizing profusely. I don't like being mean to people that are nice to me in real life. I really think it's about the myth of heroism.
No, you convinced me. I'm reading.
It's great.
Hey.
I knew how big that scene was to the fans when, before we were even remotely close to shooting it, there was all these posts on Instagram that people were mocking up their own versions of the scene with the captions underneath.
Jack Hyde, this is Christian.
This is like an iconic moment, the facing off.
I'm the boyfriend. I'm the boss.
And really, that's the only time we come face to face.
What do you have, Chris?
Thanks, Jack. Another time.
So I looked forward to that very much.
Eric Johnson is just fantastic. He's tall, good looking, and then he has this really creepy, creepy side.
Up, back, This is pretend right now.
There was a lot of people writing me on Twitter looking forward to the scene of me getting kneed in the nuts. I totally trusted Dakota. There was no protection there. I'm just like, you know what? You got this. Hopefully you like me. I'll know if you don't.
If you're gonna fuck your way to prominence, you should at least do it with someone who can make you smarter, not just richer. Huh?
I was writing the script and I said to Erica, is he Hyde because he's the other opposite of Dr. Jekyll? And she said, yes. I thought, oh, okay. I should have got that one earlier, like 3 years earlier.
Jack Hyde, well, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious. He's two people. At once her very nice boss, but He has an edge to him, and we find out about him during the course of Darker. He's not all he seems.
Hey,
Hey, Jack.
personal calls in your own time. Okay.
The thing about him is he's a kind of that classic predator. He's the wolf in sheep's clothing. Like, he presents himself as a little more benign than he actually is, but you know, at the center of him is a tortured person who's going to unleash some hell on people.
And action, Dakota.
Anastasia. I'm sorry, have we met before? I'm nobody.
I wanted to have Anna rattled by Christian's past and to give Anna a little jolt and make her less comfortable in her journey with Christian.
Her name's Layla Williams. She was my sub for a while, about 2 years ago.
Now.
Leela. Christian's waiting downstairs. Do you want to see him?
I came to see you.
Leela is a former submissive in a relationship with Christian, and we learn that Leela's husband actually died in a car crash, and so she's traumatized from every direction, and she winds up being practically a street person wandering around Seattle and looking surprisingly like Christian's birth mother, which is, of course, the backbone of the whole story, how he would seek out these women who resembled his birth mother.
You know you're in a lot of pain. I'm so sorry.
I think when Leela first starts talking Anna, she's just trying to figure out why. What is so special about this girl? Why is he happy with her and not me? And then it kind of grows into something else. He lets you call him by his name. I think she probably fantasizes about confronting her, you know, and initially, like, maybe this is how I'm gonna understand more. But it, you know, it kind of gets darker and darker. And then in the end, it becomes violent.
He still talks about you. He cares about you.
Don't lie. I imagine that I would have had some fantasy about if Anna wasn't there, if Anna was gone, maybe he'd revert back to me, maybe I could have this relationship with him. And also the idea that Anna doesn't even know what he really likes, like this idea that he's pretending with her and he thinks he's happy, but he could be so much happier with me. You don't know him, what he likes. Master is dark. You don't give him what he wants. He's pretending with you.
Leela is all the things that Anna isn't and can't be and won't be for Christian. She's just not into the sort of things that Leela would have been into with Christian.
No, Christian.
Which is funny because it's not Leela that Christian's soul calls for, it's Anna.
Yeah. Taylor, get her out of here. What do you want, Anastasia?
I want you.
As a producer doing these films and just seeing the phenomenal success of the first film and bringing to life books that the fans are ravenous for, it's just extraordinary.
This is amazing.
Darker leads us towards the proposal and the acceptance of the proposal.
Share my life with me.
And in most romance, that's the end of the story. But of course, for us, the marriage is the beginning of a new adventure, a new story, a new series of challenges. It's not the be-all and end-all. It's a whole new journey for our characters.
At the end of Darker, we have the happy couple being the happy couple, and then we end on a tense note, shall we say, because Jack Hyde is around, and he's not a happy guy.
There's a lot of scenes that stick out on the schedule in terms of that's going to be a fun few days. It's going to take 3 or 4 days to film these big scenes. And you have an idea of how sort of big and heightened and colourful they're going to be. And the Masquerade Ball is one of those scenes.
As you know, proceeds from this evening will go to the charity that Grace and I founded so many years ago, Coping Together.
Christian's parents run a charity for the families and children of drug addiction, which is, in a way, related to the experience of Christian himself. And so they have a charity ball, and he reconciles with Anna just before this ball, so it's one of their first proper dates.
My parents are hosting a charity ball tonight. I want you to come with me.
Here we are at the masquerade ball. It's a very lavish setting. Nelson Coates, who is our amazing production designer, has gone all out, and it's very sexy and beautiful.
And action.
Everybody's looking at us.
Not us. You.
We wanted quite a grand size to things, a lot of people. And the house where we were shooting the parents at didn't have a big enough backyard. So we built a tent in the Vancouver Convention Center. This giant tent and this giant space in the convention center. So when we go from Christian's parents' house, they walk through the house and through a little path in the backyard, going into what looks like the entry of the tent. But when you cut inside, we're actually at the convention center.
I had always seen it as a sort of quite a pastel-y affair, you know, very, very restrained. And then Nelson, I remember when Nelson was doing the show and tell for design, he said, oh, this is what we're going to do for the masquerade ball, and it's going to be Venice.
We're making Venice! There's a lot of pop-up events that happen in Venice that are for masquerade balls, for the whole carnival season. So I wanted to get the flavor of Venice into Seattle. So one of the ways to do that was do elements from St. Mark's Square and elements of gondolas and little tips of the hat to the colors and the flavor that would be high season in Venice.
And they have all kinds of Cirque du Soleil type characters, acrobatics, fire breathers. It's actually incredible. So we needed to take in our minds to give this event an awe-inspiring moment for Anna when she walks in. She's never seen anything like this before.
So one of the things that I really wanted to do was have the flavor of the book into this. Everywhere you look, there's little pieces, the items that are being auctioned off. All of those are the elements that are directly from the book.
This is the menu from the book. I can't believe it.
When the extras came in, I noticed them all sort of checking things out, and it kind of helped them get into a reality of what was going on there.
Hey, look at what you got in front of you.
It's just an explosion of color from the costumes and the set design, and all with this Venice backdrop.
Shay Cunliffe, who did the costumes, just went all out.
The masquerade ball was the greatest fun for the costume department to do. We started work on it the second we began preparing the film, right down to ordering masks from Venice, from all the different mask makers.
My God, that dress, it should be illegal. Monique Lhuillier.
Yeah. Monique Lhuillier helped me with Anna's masquerade ball gown. Monique makes fabulous satin 1930s inspired dresses. And I very much wanted simple old Hollywood feel for this dress.
You look spectacular.
Thank you. So do you. This is so gorgeous.
Marcia, I had a gown made for her specially by an amazing draper who works in Los Angeles at Universal, John Hales.
He built me this gown that has one word, cleavage. Like, I couldn't look at the picture and not go, oh my God, is her face there somewhere? Hold on, where's her face? It was pretty phenomenal.
Rita's in a designer gown. We had a rack of incredible designer gowns to try on her, and immediately we picked the one that had a sort of explosive, fun quality all of its own.
The dress was blue. It was like a boob tube strapless dress. It had frills at the bottom, and it was with a blue mask and a little feather detail. But I liked it because you couldn't really see my face. It was mysterious, but still kind of sexy at the same time.
250 extras, and we costumed all of them. We were gathering clothes from all over for months. We rented period clothes from out of Tirelli costumes in Rome, and also Malabar costumes in Toronto. And then when these arrived, we retrimmed them all, because I didn't want it to look just like a theatre piece set in the 18th century. I wanted to turn it into a real over-the-top masquerade ball moment. So we added more trim. We made hats and headpieces to match the outfits we'd managed to get. So every single mask was embellished with additional headpieces. We pre-fit all of the people in that scene. So for a month, all day long, people were coming through and getting their outfits sorted out. It was very gratifying to all of us when we saw it come together like that.
It's quite a magical movie moment. The thing about Darker is the power balance between the two of them in the bedroom and out of the bedroom was quite different.
I told you to come straight here. I've had people out combing the streets looking for you.
I'm sorry I don't always do as I'm told.
There's less onus on everything being exactly how he wants it. There are trips to the Red Room that are not his idea, where Anna asks to be brought to the Red Room, which is something that obviously doesn't happen in the first movie. So it's not all on his terms.
I'm trying to understand you. I am just wanting to get close to you. And it's really difficult to do that when you won't let me touch you.
There is a sort of ebb and flow of control between these two people.
2 steaks, medium fries, green vegetables.
Actually, I'm gonna have the quinoa salad.
There's a whole struggle that's going on for Anna to establish her own identity, because she's quite young and she's just starting out. She has her first job.
Good morning, Mr. Hyde.
And it's very important to her that she make her way on her own and not just ride the coattails of a billionaire.
You know I love working. You can't keep me locked up in your penthouse.
So there is a push and a pull between what Christian's instincts are and how he's dealt with women in the past. And it all was a very interesting dance.
You know that's off limits.
I'm gonna need a roadmap.
There's an emotional depth to them by this point that makes the sex more lovemaking than acrobatics.
We talk about it all the time. You know, how do you make someone feel like they're watching something that excites them, but also makes them feel like they shouldn't be watching, and figuring out how we get there in the most beautiful, cinematic way.
The basic idea is that you don't do sex stuff on the first day. I mean, you want the crew to know each other and for the cast to be familiar with the crew. So you schedule it later. But I was conscious that I didn't want to schedule it to the end, so that this thing was hanging over us the whole time, you know. So it came somewhere in the late middle. Also, there's the question about whether you shoot all of it at the same time, so you're shooting lovemaking for weeks, or you dole it out a little bit. And so we came right about in the middle, where we did a chunk at one point, kind of rested from it, and did the next chunk. And I think it wound up as best as it could be.
Emotional
balance
in my life.
Okay, very quiet, please, for rehearsal.
The great thing about Dakota is only she knows what I'm going through, and only I know what she's going through. We both sort of really need each other through this process, because there's days where it's not that easy and a lot's been asked of us. I think particularly a lot's been asked of her in terms of the physical stuff, and she's usually the one who tends to be wearing less than I would, and you need to have that person that understands and has been with it since day one as well.
We have this friendship that we built around trusting each other. We got to know each other based around the fact that I needed him to be protective of me. I needed him to be able to tell when I'm uncomfortable and when things are too heightened and too emotional, and it's like, I can't deal with it anymore. I needed him to be able to see that in my face and protect me in that way.
Doing the sex scenes, was really interesting because the humor that they had in their relationship in real life spilled over into the characters.
Jamie, come on.
Even doing what could be a dark, serious thing, right in the middle of it, one or the other would appropriately sort of giggle or laugh in the middle of their doing that. And the combination is really powerful because you're totally relaxed with them as they're doing this stuff, and so it gives you permission to not be stressed about it. I always felt like after each sexual encounter, they'd be different people, and they would have evolved in a certain way that would reflect that.
I think through this exploration of her love for this man and through her exploration of herself and what she wants in her life, she discovers this strength within her that is so extreme and it is so powerful. It's quite intricate, but it's my favorite part of all of these films.
Don't ever leave me.
Elena said that what we have won't ever be enough for you.
She's wrong. You're all I want.
It's good. I'm fine. We'll be back before midnight. The apartment's secure.
Did they find Leela?
Not yet. They've changed all the locks. Stay with me tonight.
No, I have to go home. I have to work tomorrow.
Anna, I'm not letting you wander the city when Leila's still out there.
I'm not wandering the city. I'm going home, and then I'm going to my office. Don't get on me about the job thing right now. I love working, and I have bills to pay. And I don't want your money.
I know. That's one of the things I love about you.